Hey, congratulations, my man. I'm super proud of you. Thank you. I'm trying to get back into playing the piano. I've been taking a bit of a break for a long time. It's kind of awkward because it's like, I have my hands doing what they normally do, you know what I mean? But it's like, I don't know, coming back to it is kind of stressful because it's like, I know the music that I like and I know the music that I used to play, and like, trying to bridge the gap from where I was to where I want to be as far as how my music sounds, because a lot of my stuff used to sound ridiculous, like it's just nothing but like arpeggiated chords and stuff like that, or just trying to sound like super professional like all the time. Like now I'm trying to like let myself make mistakes so it sounds funny, and then I can turn that funny into something that I like, Like that chord right there, an E minor 7 chord, or an E minor with a major 7 and whatever that is, like a 9. It's like, it's sort of like, what is that? That's, I guess the chord that's on top of the E minor chord is like a G augmented triad with a major 7, which on its own sounds weird, but you add the E in, it gives the flavor of E minor instead of it being G augmented, so it doesn't sound so weird. You know what I'm talking about? It's that weird stuff that it's like in the mix, and I'm just like, I don't know about it, or I don't know how to put it, or like how to phrase it in my playing. So it's like I mess around with the chord a bit. Ooh, like that there. Putting the F sharp of the chord down the octave adds this like very like sort of like melancholic noir mystery nonsense, you know what I mean? And like, it's like, it's like you said, every chord has its own place. And so like, I'm thinking like, as I'm playing the chords, right, I'm thinking, what sort of like ostinato can I put to it? You know what I'm talking about? Like adding the C sharp, even. Because I use, what is that? I use 4 chords with that, so for instance in the G, adding the C sharp adds tension, so it wants to resolve to D, but if you add that to an E minor chord, Like, listen to, like, even playing it like that, you separate out the tones just so, like, you get the reverb. Like, you know, it's sort of like adding, like, cayenne pepper to, like, a dish. You know what I'm talking about? I like equating food to music. But, and you can just resolve it to a D, and it just makes total sense. You know what I mean? It's like, and then you move it, like, you can move it to a D, you know what I mean? Or you can do, like, some other stuff, like, instead of, like, just resolving it immediately, what if you do something even more nonsensical? You add it, what is that? So, like, you're putting a secondary dominant chord ahead of it so that you're leading on to B, right, in that key. And then you resolve to, like, a totally different key, you know what I mean? And, like, it makes, like, to start off a piece on a predominant chord is kind of spicy, not gonna lie. If you were painting a picture, you wouldn't just, like, throw in your top layer or the cloud into the fixture and then you start making especially having the D there. Ooh, yeah, and then it wants to resolve to the D from the E minor chord. Yeah, and it just sounds like it wants to go minor. But you don't take it there. You just take it to the inharmonic major key instead, right? That stuff. Maybe it, yeah, you're right. You're right. Maybe it is abstract. I think it's more, what is it? It's like, you know, I studied a lot of Debussy back in, back in college. You know, it's that, oh, what was it again? I forget the nomenclature for how you wrote, impressionistic music. Maybe I just have a thing for impressionistic music. The golden days. Yeah, I used to think that way, but nowadays I'm like, I'm a little bit skewed off from that, you know what I mean? Because I think about, like, life the same way I think about music, right? Is that, like, the beginning can be whatever you want it to be, whatever the story is, right? And you're recounting essentially your memory of, like, a specific time or a place or a smell or a flavor, whatever the case may be. But, like, in life, right? Once you've begun the song already, you can't help the mistakes that you might have made, or you can't help the position that you started in. Like, for instance, choosing a bold, predominant chord, right? To just be the structure with which people interpret your piece, right? Just off the bat, but you can control where it goes or where it leads to, right? So in the beginning, it could be some vague, mysterious, you don't know what's going on or you don't know what you're doing. But the second you add the structure into the mix, you can make it whatever you want to be. You want to make it you can make it a minor key. You can make it a minor key that sounds happy and nice too. I'm like, sort of like, it's that. It's like I'm playing entirely in a minor key, but I'm choosing what mood or tone I want the tonic chord to have based on where I'm at in the song. Or like where my fingers are on the keys, you know what I mean? That when I play them, I feel like they could go anywhere. A minor happy sound is such a sweet and yeah, exactly, dude. And then there's songs in major keys that sound so like sad. Like I consider like Clair de Lune, right? Literally, the opening line is a major chord. Like, it's a major chord. It's a major one in first inversion, right? So it doesn't feel like D flat is the tonic of the chord, but it's still, it is major, but it has that sort of like, that like fondness of remembering something, like a night from a long time ago, whatever. And it has that like sort of like the orchestration behind it is just absolutely rich and teeming with like a ton of stuff that you could talk about. Well, yeah, dude, you gotta divvy it out, your time. You know what I mean? Like, if you spend all your time focusing on a minor key, you'll never see the interactions that the minor key has with a relative or an inharmonic key, right? Like, for instance, I'm playing in B minor. I could play in B major and D major, and honestly, you can probably mix in some D minor in there too, and it sounds super interesting. You know what I mean? Especially since, what is it? In B minor, right, you have the major 5 chord, which leads back into the minor 1, right? There's one I'm working on, though. Honestly, bro, like, you should hit me up sometime. Like, my friends, they send me recordings of, like, when they're playing and stuff, and they're like, whether they're playing other people's music or if they're playing their own music, it's, it's always lovely getting to listen to people, like, perform what's in their, their hearts and their minds, you know what I mean? And, like, putting the body into a work of the mind is just totally refreshing. It's like therapy. You know what I mean? I would love to get to listen to some of your stuff, if you'd be willing to share. I know on the occasion you do send me some videos and stuff like that. That's a little rich in the that's adding some G sharps in too. Ooh. Heck yeah, man, I'm about it. Bro, I'm rusty too, bro. Like that right there is something that I do. I like literally that's most of the time what I've been practicing. Just to get myself back in it, you know what I mean? Yeah, I think it's challenging in its own way. I mean, most of the time whenever I'm playing, what I'll end up doing is like I'll hear a certain chord progression that I like, right? Which is just a basic major key, right? But then I'll think, what are some interesting chords that I can throw in to make that a little bit more interesting? Like, for instance, you have 1, 4, 5. What if instead of going 1, 4, 5, I do... right? Like, you add in a minor 3. Right? You have a basic chord progression that you have in mind, and then you sort of manipulate the chord structures so that you can realize the fullness of what a major key or a minor key can do, and then you start mixing and flowing between the two. Like, for instance, if you're trying to switch modality, right, where you have just the basic tonic set, right, which is, in this case, we'll just use D as an example. You have D, which can do all the cool stuff. So you can go to the 3 to the 6 to the 4 to 5, 7, back to the 1 as the full progression. That's all the options that you can do, except for like deceptive cadences or some of the other spicy jazz stuff that you can do, like 4 to the... You can use the 2 as a secondary dominant chord to go to the 5, which then leads back to the 1, right? So if we're taking the structure of the song or the music that you want to play, right, and we're putting it in a classical setting, and we know all the options that we have, we can adjust those options to, yeah, we could, I mean, jazz is super simple, in my opinion, and then it's like super complex, because jazz, you can play any chord, and that chord can lead into any chord, and then so on and so forth, but like even songs like Giant Steps has like a map that was laid out that is like, okay, I'm moving in this direction and I'm thinking about the music rather than linearly where we're sticking to a key or we're going to modulate to different keys. Is that every single bar we're going to have a different, totally different chord, subset of chords, and it all works together. But it's based on interaction. Like, for instance, right, if you're thinking about a regular major scale, you have all the chords lined up in a row. If you pay attention, those chords match up to different key signatures, right? So C, of course, is in C, but C can also be in the key of F, and it can be in the key of G as well, right? Which is why this, and this all work together, because they all have a similar basis of relating to each other, right? It's sort of like mixing chicken with chicken broth. You know what I'm talking about? It just congeals together nicely. Like, you're not going to get a sudden flavor of octopus while you're eating chicken. Or you're not going to feel like you're eating rice when you're eating mashed potatoes. You know what I'm talking about? And where I think it's interesting is that, like, you'll have people who, like, conceptualize new dishes, right? They take a basic format or a basic principle, and then they choose deliberately to go off of the basis with which they create it, right? It goes with the flow, right? So now the G chord can also go to the D chord, which can also go to the A chord, and so on, which makes our circle of fifths, right? Well, whenever you start looking at jazz, right, they start adding the blue notes. So like in a regular key signature, you have the... So all of those notes that I just played, realistically, you can just play a chord that's attached to those notes, and it all makes sense. Right? So, to simplify things down, right, so that it makes sense for the application, right? Instead of thinking about harmonizing a melodic structure, right, based on the principle that there is a regular bass and then there is a regular tonic, right? Or in this case, like the major one. Instead of assuming that there is a major one, instead think, I want to play this line, whatever the business is, right? You make your line first, and then after that, you think, well, though that's sort of like it adds B flats and, G sharps, all that business. It's all stuff that doesn't make sense. But whenever you start applying it to other chords, right, you can lead that into whatever you want it to be. And like I said, I am rusty and out of practice. Like, I used to do that all the time, off the cuff, not even thinking about it, going from one key to the other, and it's all a chaotic ball of, goodness gracious. Why does it remind you of Christmas? What the heck? Ooh, I like that. Ooh, nasty. Oh, gosh. Ooh, it's stuff like that, right? Like, you're just making a melody, right? And somewhere in the middle of it is, like, you'll add a random note. Like, listen to that. Like, ooh. It's so, like, you have the A major 7 chord, and then you have a B, like a fifth with a B, and then a C sharp, but all together. It's like, ooh, it's so, it's interesting. Oh my goodness. Goodness gracious. Well, hey man, congratulations. You started, that's the biggest thing. But yeah, it's like when you're playing through your melody and you're just going through the chords like you normally would, you add in that extra spicy note right there, which in this case is a G sharp. You just catch it, you catch the whiff of it, and you're like, ooh, what's stirring up in the pot right there? You know what I mean? It's just so nice. And like, I think, the piano is a lot like, a lot of things, you know what I mean? You can compare it to chess, you can compare it to food or any of that stuff, but it's like, you just add that. Ooh, and then, yeah, it's like, it gives it like sort of a major feel, even though it has that B on the bottom that's, the tonic of the minor. Playing that back to back. Oh, it's just, ooh. It's good, dude. It's good. Like little things like that, you gotta find it. You gotta take a grasp of it. You know what I mean? You have to give yourself a chance to fit it in. You know what I mean? I'm not in San Antonio. I'm in Houston. I'm living my best life as I can. You know what I mean? But man, there ain't no such thing. Like, don't be frustrated about where you were and where you should be. You know what I mean? life is the way that it is. You know what I mean? You have to learn to forgive yourself for feeling like an E minor 7 chord with a sharp 6, I guess. I don't know. Let yourself be that nice. You gotta take yourself from where you were, and you gotta put yourself where you want to be. And I want to be that chord, and I'm sitting here. And you can't really jump from that chord to the next chord very easily. You know what I mean? It's like you have... I guess that's probably not a good example, because you actually can. Because you're not really tonicizing that chord, I guess. Yeah, I mean, like, you know, this... You gotta move some stuff around. Yeah, that's basically the principle of what I'm getting at. That sometimes chords don't work together. Like, sometimes you'll have E flat major 7 chord with a second, right? And then you want to move to a B major 7, or like even a B minor 7. Is that those things don't really necessarily make sense together if you think about it in a classical view. But you can change some stuff around, and like if you want it to sound classical, you could very easily modulate to that key. You just got to find a common. And this is where like experimenting with negative harmony helps you get to new stuff too. Which honestly, there's a video that explains negative harmony that I think would be fantastic to watch for any musician. But in the same way, like, sometimes you have to confront those negative feelings that you have about yourself in order to progress forward in a positive way, right? So you want to move the key signature from where you are. You don't really like E flat all that much. You have to recognize E flat, still a beautiful chord as it is, but you want to progress farther or have, you know, develop interest. You know what I mean? Oh, sometimes you just do that. You hit a wrong, and then you make it right. You just go straight from the minor chord to the major chord. You adjust your thinking. Unholy chords? What do you mean? What are you talking about? Unholy chords? I feel ashamed. I'll have to ask the Pope what he thinks about omniscience and how God knows of all chords. Oh my god. Alright, dude. You have yourself a good rest of the day, man. It was nice talking. Hit me up sometime. Send me some of your music. Stay well and best of luck to you, okay, bud? Hell yeah, brother. Dee da, doo da dee da da dee doos da doo 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 da da dee dee da da dee da dee. It's just so spicy. Na da dee da da do da now da dee da da da. Yeah, there you go. like that. I like that. Okay, so let's think about this. Let's think about what we have. We have a da 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 da. It's a fit. Da, 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 So we're basically playing a dotted eighth rhythm with 16th notes on the finish. Da, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, da 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 dee da dee da dee da da dee da dee da. Do 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 do. Do 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 da da ba bum ba bum. Maybe it's triplets. I could adjust the bass. Oh, I guess that gives us the ostinato. When I first saw da dee da dee da dee down. Too like poppy. Out. Dee da da dee da dee da dee da dee da dee da dum. Right? Want that. Yeah, there you go. No, that's not it. Yeah, there you go. That's the way to bring it back. Gets back into the general flow of things. It's cool. I like that. It's pretty spicy.
Mark?
Savvy?
Yep. No one knows up this early.
Oh shit, you're right.